Jay here for Stretford, Paddock. Joining me is Joe Smith, and this is the Premier League fixture reaction type vid.
The fixtures are out, Jay. The fixtures are here. And yes, you can boil it down to we're playing everyone twice, get over it. Now, if that was the video, it'd be very short and it'd be very boring. But I actually think there's a lot more to it than that. I do buy into the when you play different teams matters. I know obviously you have to play everyone twice, everyone has to play everyone twice, but you know, the Christmas period is big, the start of the season is big. We've seen, you know, momentum last season, the penalties we missed against Wolves early on in the season, and you know, the whole sort of air around the club at that time just felt like another bad season. We've started poorly, dropping points. So, you know, a good start to a season can help the whole season massively, and obviously the end is very important as well. So we're going to have a look through the fixtures. What do you think? Do you buy into the whole, you know, when you play different teams makes a difference? Yeah,
I do. I think, you know, you look at it over the last few seasons. Remember when we had like a relatively, supposedly easy run under Van Gaal? Yeah, it didn't work out that way.
At the start of the season?
Yeah, at the start of the season. Under Moyes, we had a very difficult start of the season, and he never quite got over that. Although I think that was more down to his management than the actual fixtures. So I think it does count, and it's weird this season because obviously with everything that's gone on with the pandemic, usually certain fixtures are around a certain time. Like we always have the Scousers middle of March at home. Yeah. That's obviously not happening this season. So little things like that. So it is quite interesting, and yeah, I think it can make a difference.
Yeah, I do as well. And also the end of the season, you look at last year. You know, we had a relatively favourable run-in at the end of the season, which allowed us to finish third, obviously top four, and some of that was down to Bruno and Pogba and those types of players coming back. But our sort of reduced and less quality squad played the more difficult matches, dropped a lot of points, but then we had a good run of games with a better squad at the end of the season to sort of guide us into the top four. So I definitely think it matters. Let's get into the opening game of the season. Is going to be Crystal Palace. It was supposed to be Brighton, but that's going to be postponed because we get 3 weeks off. First of all, Palace at home, that is. How gutted are you that everyone else is playing a weekend of opening fixtures and we have to sit and not have a game for United?
So we're going to be like bottom or second bottom, whatever.
And I bet you that we'll be on some ESPN relegation candidates list after the first week. 0 points for Solskjaer. He's not built on that third place finish yet, has he?
He's under pressure already.
Palace at home. That's a sort of generic first game of the season, isn't it? Nothing too much to see there, really. Obviously, only 2 games in September at the moment, Brighton being the other one. All of these are sort of TBC on dates and times because we're going to get some Sunday games, some Monday games, all that sort of thing. But October, I wanted to look at before we get to the Christmas period because it's a tricky month. We've got Spurs at home, which, as you were saying before, on the 3rd of October, could be the first game with fans in the stadium.
Potentially. I think sort of tentatively looking at around October the 1st. Again, it's not set in stone and it could change, but that could be when we start seeing fans in Old Trafford. Spurs at home.
It's a good game as well.
Good game, that. Yeah, it's not the biggest game of the season, but it's a big game, and there's obviously the added intrigue with Jose coming back, if he's still there by that time.
Yeah, and the rest of the month we've got Newcastle away, Chelsea at home, and Arsenal at home. So big month for October. That'll really sort of set your stall out. If you can get 2 wins and a draw out of those 3, Spurs, Chelsea, and Arsenal, you'd probably be happy with that, wouldn't you?
100%. I think the thing that you mentioned there about the running towards the end of the season, and you look at our points total, it wasn't much difference, if any. I think before the season before, the difference was last season we beat the teams around us. We beat Chelsea home and away. We beat Leicester home and away.
Beat City home and
away. That made a difference, especially when you look at the Chelsea and Leicester results. So it matters when you have these games and who you've got against when you've got them, and we need to make the most of it. We need to be getting maximum points against the likes of Spurs and Arsenal, who I expect to be challenging a lot more this season than they were last one.
Yeah, well, they're going to be hoping to, aren't they? And obviously, if they bring players in or change things there, Arteta, they've not done great this season, but they've won a trophy. There's a potential for some momentum, maybe, but you would think they may be a while off still competing at the top level, obviously. Let's move into the Christmas period then. Starting on the 12th of December, we've got City at home to sort of start off that quick run of games. That's always a good game, isn't it? It's always a good game. It
was good last time. Historically, recently, it's not been the greatest at home, has it? We've done better at the Etihad than we have at Old Trafford. And we've had some really sort of poor performances against City at Old Trafford. But we did win the last one. We did beat them 3 times last season. So, maybe a little bit more confident now.
Then on the 15th, we've got Sheffield United away. The 19th, Leeds at home, the Bastards. 26th, of course, Boxing Day, we've got Leicester away. which is a bit of a creamy little fixture, that one, isn't it? It's not too spicy either way, but there's definitely some substance to it. And then on the 28th, Wolves at home again. Though Leicester and Wolves, I don't know if it's because they've both got Wolves on their badge, but they kind of occupy a similar kind of difficulty mind space for me, where they're both sort of like 6.5 out of 10, but you can get battered by them on any given day, as we've seen in the past.
The weird, I mean, the one that's sort of out of the ones you mentioned there that stands out for me is obviously Leeds.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since we've played Leeds. I think the last 2 times we played them have been in the Cups. I went to one at Ellen Road in the Carling Cup. We played them in the FA Cup, unfortunately, when they knocked us out. I remember with...
we didn't want to win it that year, though,
no,
did we?
we didn't.
So it was all right?
Yeah, exactly. It's overrated.
If anything, they were stupid for falling into our trap and beating us. We were like, this year we're going to take it out, lads.
Exactly.
Sit this one out.
So looking forward to them in the Premier League and hopefully putting them back into place. And as you mentioned, difficult games. You look at those teams of late as well. Wolves under Nuno and Leicester, I know they tailed off under Rodgers. The good sides, difficult to beat, and they've got players that can hurt you. So you can't take those sort of games for granted. And also with Ole, I know we beat Leicester on the way last season, but it's some of those mid teams that we've struggled against, haven't we? That have been the problem, not necessarily the better teams.
And then we've got on the 2nd of January we've got Villa at home, although that can't be right, can it?
What's that?
Oh yeah, of course it can. Villa at home. I thought they'd been relegated for a second. I'm confusing them with Bournemouth. Yeah, we've got Villa at home on Saturday the 2nd of January to round out that sort of Christmas period. Overall, not too bad, that is it, really. You don't want to be playing, City home and away in that time, and we do have them earlier on, but I think over that congested time there, should be right.
Christmas is a difficult one because obviously, like you say, the games come thick and fast. I don't know, how's it all working with, you don't know how it's going to work with the cups and all that sort of stuff, and obviously we've got a European competition this season that we care about as well. A little bit more because obviously we didn't care about the Europa.
No. Again, I wanted to get the 3 semi-finals, collect the whole set of semi-final medals, the semi-final trophies.
In the making.
Yeah, and then move on. Let's move on to May then. Obviously, this is the business end of the season where hopefully we're at least going to be competing for top 4. I think it's a struggle to say we'll be competing for the title, but you want to be in and around the mix of. Half a chance. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? If at the start of April, let's say, we're within 10 points of first, I'd be very happy with that. Yeah,
you just don't want to be sort of 30 odd points off the top by March or whatever it was last season. It was just ridiculous. So I get where you're coming from. No one's expecting a title challenge from Manchester United, but to be in the conversation going into the last couple of months, I think, considering where we're coming from, would be decent. Yeah,
exactly. So May then, it starts off the 1st of May. We've got Liverpool at home, always a big game. Then we've got Villa away, Leicester at home, Fulham at home, and then last game of the season, Wolves away. That's a tricky little fixture, isn't it?
But Wolves away is obviously, again, we play Wolves almost every week, don't we? And our record ain't great against them. And as for the Scousers, I don't know, it's been weird on it, the Liverpool game at Old Trafford the last couple of seasons. It's sort of been, they had was it the 0-0 when we had it was like the Battle of the Somme, everyone was injured, like Marcus Rashford was hobbling around.
Herrera got injured as well.
Yeah, and we made 3 subs. And
Lingard.
And it just sort of played out in a 0-0, and then we had the 1-0, obviously this season, which pains me to say it was almost like an achievement because they were winning every game.
Yeah.
Even though we threw away a lead, it was like...
The first team to
make to take points off them. So I'm hoping it'll be a bit more exciting and we'll get all 3 points this time because we should be beating anyone at Old Trafford.
Yeah, we should. And before we go, I think we should look a little wrap-up of some of those other teams that are going to be fighting for roughly the similar spots that United are this season. Let's have a look at their run-ins because you always see these tables toward the end of the season. Who's got it more difficult? Assuming we're within similar sort of points to Spurs, Chelsea, we'll involve City in there and Liverpool as well, just for argument's sake. Because we've seen how City dropped off this season, could happen for Liverpool. So we'll start with Liverpool. They've got United, obviously, Southampton, West Brom, Burnley, Palace. That's pretty easy other than United, isn't it? Easy for them. Last four games, piece of pie.
Yeah.
And then City have got Palace, Chelsea, Newcastle, Brighton and Everton at home last game of the season. Again, even other than Chelsea, piece of pie, lads.
Yeah, piece of pie. Yeah, you're right, mate. There's no dramas there, is there?
No, exactly. And then we've got Spurs here. We've got Sheffield United, Leeds away, Wolves at home, Villa at home, and Leicester away. Again, relatively simple. How can all these teams have such easy run-ins? And then Chelsea, I've got Fulham, City, Arsenal, Leicester, and Villa. That's a bit more like it.
A bit more difficult. Hopefully, if we are up against Chelsea, they'll drop a few points there. I mean, it's so weird because you don't know. This season just gone. Sheffield United with a wild card. Leicester were a bit of a wild card because no one predicted Leicester were going to be in the top 3 for sort of
all
season until the last couple of weeks, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So that was a big shock. So you never know, you might have someone who, you know, may just comes from nowhere and not flatters to the sea, but exceeds expectations and gate crashes the pie. The main thing is that, you know, going into those fixtures you mentioned, that we're still in with at least a chance of top 4, because if we're not, we're doing something drastically wrong.
Yeah, I think overall then, looking at United's fixtures, again, you have to play everyone twice, but I would say it's a sort of average, run-of-the-mill type. We've got difficult games here and there. End of the season is not particularly easy, but it's not too, you know, we're not ending with sort of Liverpool, City, Chelsea or anything like that. So should be, I think it's a decent enough run of fixtures where you sort of think we should over the season.
Yeah, I mean, my main sort of issue would have been, because you don't know how things are going to go with signings, and we've got the transfer windows open till October, is if United didn't strengthen, and we had a sort of a squad that hasn't had a massive break, then did look tired last season. If our first sort of 6 or 7 games were all sort of, you know, we had a lot of tough fixtures crammed in, that would be a concern if we were still trying to strengthen and get our deals done. But it's just sort of bang average, isn't it? Everything. So like you say, there's not a particular point where you go, this is horrendous, or this is dead easy. It's like, it's sort of evenly balanced, and I don't think you can have too many complaints. I mean, you know, it's just have to wait and see what happens in terms of how United kick on from last season. But towards the end of last season, we look good, and if we can take that form, not the cup form, but obviously the Premier League form, I feel pretty confident.
Yeah, same. Right, so Crystal Palace at home on the 19th of September. As it stands, it may get changed to this Sunday, depending on TV, all that sort of thing, but that's the one to look out for. Forget about that first weekend of fixtures.
No one cares.
Maybe get your fantasy footballs in, but in the words of Andy Tate and now Jay, don't care. 19th of September, that's going to be United's first game of the season. Relatively usual set of fixtures, playing everyone twice. Classic, isn't it? Play everyone twice. Who's bothered? Well, we are. Right, that's going to be all from us. Thanks very much for joining me, Jay. Thank you very much for joining us at home. Let us know what you think to these fixtures. Let us know whether you think it's a relatively soft entrance into the league. Burnley, Crystal Palace, Brighton, Tottenham, Newcastle and Chelsea to start us off. So hopefully we should be up and around that top sort of 2 or 3 spots after that. But again, let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you in a bit.